You cannot simply seize my property. This violates every rule in the book.
Karen, this matter is already before the court. The seizure stands.
I woke up to the sound of metal grinding and my fishing boat screaming across the asphalt. Cold air slapped my face as I ran out, bare feet hitting the rough concrete, the smell of wet lake mud and hot coffee still in my nose. Yellow hazard lights flashed off the water. A tow truck was dragging my boat away from my lake mooring, the one I had used for years. In front of it stood Linda, our HOA president, hair sprayed stiff, clutching a clipboard like a weapon. She didn't even look at me when I shouted. She just pointed at my empty spot on the shore and said, "Mooring revoked. Unauthorized structure. Daily fines start now." Then she turned and walked off like she had not just ripped out the best part of my day and my dad's only way onto the lake. That is how HOA seized my lake mooring for 22 days, had no idea I am their judge. My mooring wasn't some random rope on a tree. I had a city permit. I had a contract with the marina. I had picked that exact spot so my dad, with his bad knee, could step into the boat without climbing rocks. I pulled up the permit on my phone and jogged after Linda. She held up her hand in my face. "New rules," she said. "You were notified. 30 days. Certified mail." I never got anything. My neighbors watched from behind curtains, the way people do when they want to help but are scared of the person holding the clipboard. One guy started toward me, then his wife caught his arm and pulled him back inside. I went to the emergency board meeting that Friday, May 3, 2024, at 7:00 p.m. in the stale-smelling clubhouse with buzzing lights. My boat was already in impound, racking up storage fees. I sat in the hard plastic chair while the board whispered at the front table. When they finally called my name, they barely looked up. I explained the permit, the marina contract, my dad's knee. Linda flipped some papers like she was bored. "You have a history," she said. I knew what she meant. Timeline item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. She had called the police on me that night for walking my dog near the playground. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted, I said, calm as I could. The room went quiet. One board member smirked. Another checked his phone. Then they voted. 5-0. Fine of $1,200. Mooring denied. Reapply if you like. Humiliation is a hot, tight feeling in your chest. I walked home in the cold night air, streetlights making long shadows, and I drew my line in the sand. I promised myself and my wife that I would not scream, not slash tires, not do anything stupid. I would use the tools I knew best. Paper. Rules. Records. The next morning I cleared the dining table and spread everything out. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I printed my permit, my marina contract, and the HOA bylaws from their own website. Then I went one step higher. I filed a complaint with the city about an HOA removing permitted access to public shoreline without cause. And because I am me, I also filed a public records request. 2 weeks later, a thick envelope slammed onto my porch. The file landed with 63 pages. I made a pot of coffee and started reading. Complaint after complaint, all from the same HOA board. About boats. About dogs. About kids chalking on the sidewalk. My name showed up 8 times, usually in all caps. They had never filed an amendment for their new mooring rule with the city. They had never sent the city the policy they claimed I broke. There it was in plain print, their rule did not exist in any official record. The law says an HOA cannot take your property or block your access without real notice and a chance to be heard under valid rules. They had done both. I added my own timeline to the binder, each page in a clear sleeve. The dock. The permits. The midnight police call. The seizure of my boat. And one last quiet thing I knew that they did not, I also sat on the Lake District Compliance Panel that reviews HOA violations for the city. The city investigator moved fast once he saw the binder. He came out in a gray windbreaker, took photos of the empty mooring, sniffed at the chain marks on the rocks, and shook his head. 2 weeks later, the HOA got cited for unauthorized seizure of property, violation of shoreline access rules, and failure to honor a disability accommodation. They appealed, of course. Linda loved to fight when she thought the deck was stacked for her. She clicked send on that appeal to the Lake District, not realizing it would land on the agenda of my panel. Hearing date set, June 10th at 6:30 p.m. The notice went to every homeowner. People started talking. Screenshots of the citation bounced around in the neighborhood group chat. Someone posted a picture of my empty mooring with the caption, "This gonna be good." The night of the hearing, the small council room was packed. It smelled like old paper and copier toner and nervous sweat. Phones were out, already recording. When the clerk called the panel members to the front, I walked in from the side door in a blazer instead of my usual hoodie. The room went strangely quiet. Linda's eyes got huge. She whispered something to the HOA lawyer, who turned slowly to stare at me. I sat in the center chair and clicked on my mic. "For the record, my name is on the homeowner list for this HOA," I said. "If either side objects, we can pause and assign a backup chair." The city attorney shook his head. "No objection." The HOA lawyer glanced at Linda. She looked like a statue. "No objection," he said, voice thin. Neighbors were already grinning, cameras up. We went through the evidence like a slow, careful movie. The towing video. The lack of rule filings with the city. My permit. My dad's doctor note. My labeled timeline with each date and time. Every time Linda tried to talk over the investigator, I reminded her to wait her turn. "This is your process too," I said. "You wanted rules. We follow rules." People chuckled. At one point, someone in the back whispered, "When the HOA forgets the judge lives on their street," and the whole room shook with quiet laughter. I kept my face straight, but inside, the knot in my chest started to loosen. When the city rested, I closed the binder and looked out at the room. "This isn't about a boat," I said. "This is about an HOA that thought fear was faster than fairness." The panel voted in open session. 3-0. The order was simple and strong. The HOA had to restore my lake mooring rights at once. They had to pay all storage fees for my boat and cancel every fine linked to the fake rule. They had to issue a written apology to me and my dad and attend training on disability rights and due process. The city also fined the HOA a solid chunk of money for the violations. Within a month, the homeowners called a special meeting. Linda lost her board seat by a vote of 23-2. When she walked away from the clubhouse that night, no one followed. A few weeks later, a for sale sign went up in her yard. These days, the lake is quiet again. My dad steps into the boat without trouble, waves to neighbors, and sometimes people come sit on the shore just to talk and laugh about how it all turned out. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.